Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. CSI Vegas returns tonight for its Season 3 premiere on CBS in a new time slot on Sunday nights. I spoke to actress Marg Helgenberger, who's played Catherine Willows since the original CSI, when she starred in The Little Foxes at Arena Stage in Washington, D.C. back in 2016.
Marg, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
And so it's Marg, as in Margot, as in Betty Davis in Margot Channing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right, in All About Eve.
There's the connection.
Yes.
My favorite Betty Davis movie, but also The Little Foxes, a great Betty Davis movie. I assume you've seen it.
I have seen the film, yes.
Okay.
Which is actually not quite like the play. They've added some characters. They've opened it up a bit. Obviously, it's not the... with films, you do have to open it up. Actually, I have to say the film, I did not necessarily like the things they added in the film, but
You prefer the play better?
I do.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Like which?
But Lillian Hellman, who wrote the play, also wrote the screenplay, I believe.
Yeah. I think she adapted her own play.
Yeah, I think so.
So which sort of things? So William Wyler directed it's a 1941 Hollywood classic, nominated for a bunch of Oscars, including Betty Davis. But what sort of things did you say that they added that you weren't really that big a fan of?
My daughter in the play, Alexandra is the character's name. She has a boyfriend in the play, which I don't know, and it just wasn't necessary, I didn't think, to the plot. But
right, that's Teresa Wright character.
Yeah, that's right.
She was in a lot.
Really
this is my stuff, man. I love movies.
Oh.
She was like Pride of the Yankees and Best Years of Our Lives and Shadow of a Doubt. Like Teresa Wright kicked
wow.
Awesome. But okay, yeah. So
do you have like one of those memories where you can recall
a little bit of a savant? Yeah. If you want, you want to test it? Give me a year. Throw out a year.
A year?
Just say a year.
1938.
38 was You Can't Take It With You, won Best Picture. But my favorite's Bringing Up Baby. Yeah, see, I can do it any year.
Oh, my God.
But all right, back to The Little Foxes.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, so just in case, we're riffing back and forth like we've seen the movie and we know the play and everything, but let's pretend our listeners have no idea. They think Little Foxes sounds cool, but I have no idea what it's about. Give them the little plot summary.
All righty. It's set in 1900, turn of the century, which is a really kind of fascinating time in American history, the beginning of Industrial Revolution. Lots of changes happening, and the family, the Hubbard family, lives in a small town outside of Mobile, Alabama. So it's the Deep South. We're about 35 years out of the Civil War, but things move slower in the South. Yeah. And these three siblings, myself and my two brothers, Ben and Oscar, they're a successful family, but probably more like upper middle class. But they, especially Regina, my character, wants a lot more than that. She wants the money to have a much more adventurous life, to go live in Chicago, high society, travel to Paris to buy clothing, etc. And so in the beginning of the play, there's a gentleman from Chicago that's going to join, start a partnership with them in building a cotton manufacturing plant in the South. Bring the plant to the cotton, or something is the line from the play. Yeah. Anyway, so and they kind of they don't always do things above board, and not only with the people that they're in business with, but with each other. They're always sort of backstabbing and going around each other, and it's a real tale of greed and betrayal and of obviously dysfunction, big time. But it's got actually a lot of humor in it. The characters are all really defined. I mean, that's what great writing is all about, is that it just becomes richer and richer the more you explore it, we've been in rehearsals now for a week, and it's just, we keep discovering new and things. And I think throughout the run, we probably still will discover, that's what that means.
You'll be at the last performance and say, I finally get that.
Yeah. So and that's, that's the beauty of great writing.
Yeah. And I have to say, this is the Hubbard family, but different from the Hubbard family that owns WTOP, by the way. So that's who owns us. There's a Hubbard family. Yeah. So no conflict of interest here. No, I'm just kidding. But so you mentioned how the great writing, and just piggybacking off of that, you say you discover new things and new lines every time. So this is, you mentioned it's Lillian Hellman, right? Mm-hmm. I think she was romantic partners with Dashiell Hammond back in the day, too.
She was.
But it's part of a larger Lillian Hellman festival that's going on.
Yes,
so that's pretty pretty cool.
Yes, the Arena Stage has usually likes to choose a playwright a season to highlight an American playwright, and in the past they've done Eugene O'Neill and Arthur Miller, and this year they decided this is their first female playwright, who's like the first female giant in American playwrights, and you know, not that people necessarily have forgotten who Lillian Hellman. I mean, I think a younger crowd might not know who she is, but she really was not only extraordinary writer, but she had an extraordinary life. I mean, she was always on the forefront of like exposing fascism, and she happened to be blacklisted because of her views. You know, in the early days in Hollywood, a lot of people, you might know this because you're such a Hollywood buff, a lot of people were, you know, they attended communist meetings and stuff. Yeah. It wasn't like it didn't have like sort of the same stigma as it does now, I guess. And it's certainly, you know, but in the 50s, that took on a whole other meaning. And a lot of these people who had, you know, been to a meeting or two got labeled and got blacklisted from Hollywood and you know, had to go to London and other places to do work, to complete, you know, what their love of and their livelihood was.
Or they write under fronts. Like if you saw the Trumbo movie, Bryan Cranston.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see it, but yes, exactly.
Yeah. Same exact idea, yeah.
Yes. So I'm glad that people that the Arena is going to be presenting. The other play that they're doing is Watch on the Rhine, which I think is also, you know, fascism and is on the cusp of fascism, Nazism, and she takes on like big subjects and Lillian Hellman. So I haven't read that one, but I got to add that to my list.
Yeah. Well, we can all read them for days. They'll be around a while, I think.
Yeah.
Take me into your character. How do you prep for this? It's Regina.
Regina Giddens. So that's Giddens is my married name. How do I prep for it? You know, it's been an interesting role to work on because she's been described as you know, monstrous bitch and so on. But you know, you certainly can't
Facebook Live.
You can't approach a character with a judgment, you know, like that. You know, you have to understand these person's motivations and desires and wants, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, it's a challenging part. It's a really challenging part because she's very bright, very complex and funny. She's got a lot of qualities that are really admirable. I mean, she's charming and quick and witty and yet she's also manipulative. She's also cruel at times. But that's what makes it a fun part. You know, it's who wants to play a two-dimensional character, right. You know, you want to have as many colors as the rainbow that you can like explore.
Absolutely. Same with interviews. You've already got it. It's colorful. This is not two-dimensional at all. Look, we're on Facebook and everything. This is great. This is like 4D right now. So take your co-star, Edward Giro.
Yes.
We know him very well. He's come in so many times. For a while, I think he just stopped, but for many years, he was our Scrooge in A Christmas Carol at Ford's Theater.
Was he? No, I didn't know that, but I know he's...
And the originalist at Arena, he played Justice Scalia.
I was
like
told that. You know, he's a doll. I mean, you know, he plays my brother Ben, my brother Ben and I, Regina, we get along. We see more eye to eye, even though there are times when he backstabs me or I go around his back, but we respect each other more than our other brother. And, you know, he's just, I love hear all the things he's done here in Washington. I mean, he's probably played practically every role that's been written in American literature, and not just American literature, English and English plays. But, the whole cast is terrific. He's very good. And the costumes, oh my God, are just exquisite. I cannot wait to put those costumes on.
It's that 1900 Alabama setting. What is it?
Yes, 1900. So the women have, you know, bustles and, nice. You know, corsets, which I'm not so crazy about that idea. But
a little hard to breathe.
It makes it a little more of a challenge. But it is an attractive silhouette, as they say. Okay. But he's just chosen such. I mean, it was a really beautiful time in fashion. If people are familiar with that show, The Nick, that's on Stars. I don't know what it's on actually. Cinemax, something like that. Anyway, that's
You're
the
on
era.
Your computers. Look it up.
That's the era, and those costumes are really wonderful. And or any of those. Age of Innocence, those Edith Wharton type novels. So and the set's going to be incredible. I mean, you know, it's fun to do period. I don't think I know I've not done this period before. I've certainly done period pieces, but so I'm looking forward to all of that, the mannerisms and the way you have to carry yourself and et cetera.
Awesome. Tell me about you. You grew up in Nebraska, right?
Yes, I grew up in a small town, North Bend, Nebraska, population 1,200.
Whoa. So you get this whole rural idea.
I do.
Okay.
I absolutely do. Yes, yes.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but did I see you started doing weather reports on a local news station? Is this right?
Well, I guess that would be my first on-camera job would be, yes. I did it for one summer, and I went to a college in Nebraska called Kearney State College for 2 years, and then I transferred to Northwestern, which is where I graduated from. But in that summer between my sophomore and junior year, I did the weather, and it came about. I was a fluke. There was a guy in one of my interpretation of drama classes he did the weather during the week, and he says, "We're looking for a weekend person. Yeah. Come on out and audition." And I honestly I sucked. I really did. But I winked into the lens, and, they thought that was charming or whatever, and I got the job. But it was hard. I mean, I had to make my own maps, and I would get all the information off the AP UPI wire services. This is way before the internet, you know. So there was with my magic marker, like the high pressure systems. Just so rudimentary, I'm telling you.
How'd you make the switch into acting? Did you do streetcar in college?
Well, okay, so I transferred to Northwestern, and there, things kind of kicked into high gear because that's a school that, was known for its theater program, and a lot of young people that were, that's what they wanted to do. And I didn't really have many peers that thought they were going to become professional actors or directors or writers, whatever. And in fact, Julia Dreyfus was there when I was there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What was she like back then?
She, we weren't actually friends. We were in a production of a Threepenny Opera together, and she was, she was always very talented, and she had gotten into the improv. There was an improv troupe still at Northwestern called the Meow troupe, and she got into that troupe as a freshman. So
did you just do Cats every year, or what?
What's that?
Did you do Cats every year?
I don't know how it got the name Meow, honestly. They did a number of things. So it was clear that she, was going to, have a career in comedy or just in as an actress, And so I got sidetracked with Julia Dreyfus.
No, we were just asking how you made the leap into acting.
Oh, okay.
And specifically, how did you get to Ryan's Hope, the soap opera, off of that? How did that transition happen?
Okay, so at Northwestern, I got an opportunity to play a lot of the great roles. Yes, Blanche in Streetcar Named Desire, and Kate in Taming of the Shrew, which was a play that was seen by a casting agent that worked for ABC Daytime Television, which led to an interview, which led to a screen test for Ryan's Hope, which was the soap I did right out of college.
That was sort of your big breakthrough onto the telly.
Yes, that is what got me the agent and all that. Yeah.
But what got you the Emmy and several nominations for it was China Beach. You played, it was in Vietnam, right?
It was
a heroin-addicted prostitute role.
All the salacious
Man, that's a heavy one.
adjectives. Yes, I played, the character's name was Casey from KC. And it was set in Vietnam during the war, and this show's focused on a lot of the female characters, the nurses that were there, the Red Cross volunteers, also known as Donut Dollies, USO performers, Chloe Webb. I don't know if you know the actress Chloe Webb was also on that show for a little while. Dana Delaney was in that show. So it was a great part. It was, as you said, although I de-emphasize the heroin addicted thing because that was just like one season or even like a half a season or something. The thing I like to emphasize about that character is that she really was like one of the first sort of yuppies, the first like entrepreneurial women during the war. I mean, I was selling cars to GIs. I was servicing the upper echelon in the. I stayed away from the grunts, I even opened up a beauty salon, on China Beach,
nice.
And I did a lot of things. It was just a really fun character, but also just very sassy and kind of told it like it was, and great part.
Definitely. That was a great part. Won you an Emmy. But a lot of us, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners will most know you from CSI. All the years you did that. I think a couple Emmy nominations, Golden Globe nominations. Tell us about that role and, how much, how that sort of changed your life. And I'm sure people on the street now know you as Catherine.
Yes,
Yeah.
Catherine, or as
Catherine
they say,
Willows.
Catherine Willows, and as they say in Paris, Catherine. I
What was that again?
Catherine, and it's called Les Experts. It was that show CSI. It was a global phenomenon. I mean, I go everywhere I go in the world, I get recognized. Yeah. And in fact, I was in Cuba. A couple years ago, before the ban was lifted, the travel ban was lifted. So I feel like I was one of the. I was there before. Ananyway,
we can thank you for that, really. Yeah.
Oh yes, exactly.
You healed U.S.-Cuban relations through CSI. Heard it here first.
But you just always thought they don't get American programming, blah blah blah. I mean, literally, almost the moment I stepped foot through immigration, I got recognized, and throughout the country, it was such a shock. I had no idea, and because they get very little programming there, and most of it's bootlegged because they say, well, how did they even get this? And then the stories we go, well, you never really know in Cuba. Somebody puts something on a memory stick, it gets passed around, and eventually ends up on public television.
That sounds legal.
Right. They do things very inventive in Cuba, and some of the loveliest, sweetest people I've ever met. Yeah. So anyway, playing that part I had no idea. I had a really strong feeling the show was going to be a hit when I shot the pilot, saw the finished cut and all of that. I just thought, wow, we're onto something here. And it's always great to be validated, right? I never would have assumed it would have had the global reach that it's had, or had the impact on young people wanting to become criminalists. Yeah. And it's. It'd be nice if every actor could have that opportunity to be on a show that has that kind of success, because it's a fun ride, and it was such an amazing cast, and to be on something that in its day was very innovative, and there's this term called the CSI effect. I mean, sometimes it's equated with a negative term in solving in a case, and sometimes the court system doesn't always appreciate that the jury wants to. Well, why can't you do this? Why can't you get the tox results in 48 minutes like they do?
That's not how Marg did it.
But having said that, it was all. It was a great experience all around. Awesome. Yeah.
Well, and it's not just TV. You've had some great film roles too. I got to ask you about the two Steven Bergs. Steven Spielberg in Always and Steven Soderbergh in Aaron Brockovich. What was it like working with both of them? Contrast their styles for me.
And there's a Steven Seagal.
And a Seagal, yeah. There's another one.
Double S.
Sorry, the three Stevens.
Steven Spielberg. Well, I mean, what can you say? I mean, when I met him, the movie was Always, and it was a long time ago, 1989. I was on China Beach at the time. So I walk into the room to meet him, and he says, such a gracious guy, says, I'm a big fan of yours. I mean, that's was like, wow. I was so taken aback by that, to be complimented like that from Spielberg, and it was such an incredible experience. He loves making movies. In fact, I even overheard him say that we were shooting my stuff was shot in Moses Lake, Washington, which is kind of near where the Grand Coulee Dam is. If anyone knows where that is, beautiful area, and it's like some mountaintop or a coulee top or whatever it happened to be, and I think he was just saying it out loud to anybody who says, God, I love making movies.
That's great.
Oh, I know. To have it come out of his mouth like that, it was so incredible.
It shows, too, in the work, You can see the passion.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Yes. I mean, he truly loves making movies. And so that was, and that was my first film.
And that was Audrey Hepburn's last role, right?
It was. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to meet her. She had a scene with Richard Dreyfuss in Cornfield or something like that. But yes, I can still claim I was in Audrey Hepburn's last film.
You were frozen in time in that movie.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah,
and what about Aaron Brockovich? That was it, working with Julia and Steven Soderbergh, man.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great experience. That's when, Steven, first off, he would operate. He wasn't his own DP. A lot of times he would DP the films, but Ed Blackman was the DP, but Steven would sometimes operate, and that was always kind of fun because he'd give you direction. He'd look out from behind the headlamps and like shake his head, saying, whatever, thumbs up, and he moves super fast, which is kind of nice. I'm used to working fast, having done so much television in my life, and
so not a ton of takes and
not a lot of very little like rehearsals or anything like, because mostly because Julie doesn't really like enjoy a lot of rehearsals, and a lot of movie stars don't. They kind of like just doing it because they you put the work in before you arrive, and then you just do it. And I like that too.
You're the character at the house she comes to visit, right? The who's ill, and they start this whole investigation.
This character is kind of a compilation of a couple different of real people, because that was a real case. Sure. PG&E had this chromium-6, hexavalent-6, was this had seeped into the groundwater supply, and a lot of people were getting various types of cancers from it, and and that's the investigation that my character contacted them, saying, and it's complicated, but they were going to build, PG&E was going to build a bypass road or something to make things easier for their company, and they're going to go right through my double wide, and so that's how I said, I don't want to live. I love my house. I don't want to leave. And then, but in this box was all this other stuff about medical issues and stuff, and that's when Aaron says, Julia's character Aaron Brockovich says, well, I don't understand. He goes, well, they're all kind of, I just threw them all in the same box, and that uncovered all of the the expose of so many people in the community having cancers. So, first off, the story itself, anytime an underdog takes on a corporation, a big bad corporation, and wins. I mean, who doesn't love that story? It's actually now considered sort of a classic, Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah.
And
it's like 15 years ago now, hard to believe.
Yeah, I know. And Julia, it was like such a beautiful marriage between a personality and a character, and she was fantastic in that movie, and she was great to work with. She was so supportive and fun and easy and to get along with. And Steven, I just, I adore him. That whole cast was incredible on that. It's just a great film. I'm really proud to be a part of that film.
Yeah. And you've had some other great roles. You've done a lot of like thriller horror stuff. On Stephen King's Under the Dome, that series. Species. Mr. Brooks, was it, with Kevin Costner's serial killer? Why do you like those, real quick, and then we'll close out, but why do you like those thriller horror elements?
It's funny. I don't necessarily think of myself as being attracted to that, but because I also did another Stephen King miniseries years ago called The Tommyknockers, 20 plus years ago, and with Jimmy Smits, and that was shot in New Zealand before long before Lord of the Rings and all that stuff too. But and Mr. Brooks, I mean, Kevin Costner, he's one of my. Somebody asked me earlier today, like who are some of your favorite people you worked with? I have to say Kevin Costner too, because he was so gracious and we
just did a phone interview with him. He brought his band to the Birchmere.
Oh, that's right. Yes, he has a band. Yeah, he's a cool guy, right?
He's a great guy.
Yeah,
he's great.
Yeah, super great guy and sexy too, to boot. That's an added bonus.
There you go. You heard it there. Awesome. Well, come back and see the Little Foxes at Arena Stage. In closing, why should they come out? If they've heard this interview and they're saying this sounds pretty cool, what gets them there?
What gets them there? If you want to hear some great writing, which is, needs to be seen again, needs to be heard again, and a story that a lot of people can relate to. I mean, dysfunctional families, and it's got a lot of humor too, and great costumes.
Marg, thanks so much.
Thank you. It's been a blast.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.